I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. Hi. So hungry. Window capture. Alrighty. One more. Okay. Sound off. Okay, it's gonna be separate. Okay. Okay, that's about the best we can do there. And so this here. You have it. You have it.
People were getting married in the United Kingdom at the age of 10, 12, and in America, all the way down in Delaware, it was actually 9 years old or 7 years old. It was legal to get married at this age. So when did it shift? It actually shifted here in the United Kingdom.
Wondering though,
this was a year ago. He had this whole breakdown a year ago, and he couldn't give any of this as an answer to me. What the?
I think 9 is very young. It's.
Did he listen to anything that he just said? After your debate with Sneeko, if you can call it that, I went to Rumble yesterday to see what he was saying about it. And man, the chat was just spamming Kill Destiny and X Queer C. That's kind of funny, sorry. Sneeko challenged you to a Zionism debate. We know there are two wolves inside of you. We need you to give in to the one that will obliterate. What? It's going to be cringe. He literally doesn't know anything. This guy's screaming at me, what does Islam have to do with politics? What am I even supposed to say to this guy? Like, if he really wants to, I mean, we can, but it's just going to be cringe. And she tries so hard to farm and then cries when other people are farming him. Also, if you're going to get farmed off the question, what do you think the age of consent should be? Bro, maybe that's your fault that it's such a bountiful harvest. Hassan is reacting to his recent Piers Morgan appearance. He said he got really mad and looked unhinged. I think mine was good. I think I'm learning the format more. Like, you get asked a question, you give your talking point that you want to get out, then you answer the question. I think I had a couple zingers in there. I don't know when mine goes live. Probably sometime today.
I don't give a fuck. Yep.
You say that debates with people who know nothing are great for you because you can dismantle people's worldviews in the Peter Boghossian video. Yeah, but it's like Sneeko is like the king sophist. Like, he's not even pretending to be in pursuit of truth or whatever. And he's on like the cringiest Muslim grift. Also, I wish that they could just accept. He doesn't even have good answers for the shit that he talks about. Listen, here's what I would do. This is what I would do. If I was a devout Muslim, okay, this is what I would say. When somebody says, what's the age of consent? You know what I would say? I would say, it could be anywhere from 25 to 11, depending on how quickly the person develops. Some people develop very quickly. We know this, right? And I'm sure you've met 24, 25-year-olds who haven't even developed enough yet to even have sex, okay? In the West, we've decided that we've set the laws at anywhere from 16 to 18, which I think is about okay. But obviously, there are probably some people that are a little younger that could have sex. There are some people a little older that could have sex. They should wait to have sex. In the Quran, it doesn't specify a particular age of consent. It just leaves it up to whenever people develop, and that's up for the countries to set their ages. And I think that's perfectly fine. That would be like an okay answer. The reason why, I don't know if you could tell, the reason why I was asking him the question is because I knew he wouldn't give an answer, because he's too stupid to know what the Quran even says about the age of consent, but he can't give a resolute answer answer because he's got a sip for Islam, and he thinks that part of Islam is defending the fact that Muhammad was a 9-year-old. So he can't give an answer. That's why I knew it was the ultimate short circuit question. But it was irritating because he's trying to pin XQC down on, can you give me like the definitive source of all meta-ethical truth, which XQC is not gonna have a fucking good answer for. But the irritating part is Sneeko doesn't even.
Well, most religious people, sorry. Most religious people think that because like their foundation is in God, they don't have to justify it. I believe in God. God is the foundation of everything. Now you are the one that has to you're the one that has to come forward and come with a reason why that isn't the case. What is your foundation? And can you justify it? Like, because they already assumed that was a foundation. It's pretty like weak argumentation, like objectively, like, hey, my foundation is right and yours isn't. So anyway, explain why your foundation is right. It's just like, if you were to do that with literally anything else that wasn't God, everyone would call it out as nonsense and illogical.
But know his own stupid book that he claims to follow religiously, metaphorically, or pun intended, religiously, because there's nothing religious about the way that he follows Islam. Like, God, he's so irritating. Okay, anyway. Sneeko is scared of getting gotcha'd by you, so his knee-jerk reaction when asking questions is to squirm out of answering what we all expect his answer to be because he doesn't want to give you the satisfaction, even though it's a bullet you should bite. Yeah, I know, because he's a coward. That's what anything I say to him, I mean. He's very, very cowardly, and it's very annoying. Like, especially if you're gonna do like a big Judeo-Christian. Islam counts as a Judeo-Christian religion, right? Because it's one of the book.
It
right?
is. I mean, I guess it's
that
Abrahamic. I would say that. I wouldn't say Judeo-Christian.
Or no, would you say Abrahamic religions?
Yeah.
When you're talking about like the 3 religions of the book or whatever, are all 3 of those Judeo-Christian? Judeo-Christian can't simply mean just Judaism and Christianity. Why would you have a word that stupid? Judeo-Christian. Why not just say Judaism and Christianity? Hold on. The term Judeo-Christian is used to group Christianity and Judaism together. What a cringe word. Okay. All right, I guess you're just calling it an Abrahamic religion then.
Yep.
Because the West was founded on Judeo-Christian morals. Yeah, but I feel like Islam has a fuck ton of overlap. Like, I feel like all the 3 Abrahamic religions have a fuck ton of overlap in terms of like moral values. The internet used to be like, if this is the knowledge of the internet, it came from like all these different kinds of
definitely
places.
Gotten harder.
Like if these threads are the knowledge of the internet, it kind of like, there's a lot of different websites that people pull from, and then I would say that like this stuff here is kind of like, maybe you could call this like search engines. You'd be on Ask Jeeves, you'd be on Lycos, you'd be on Yahoo. Search was a huge one. Google was, in the beginning, it was growing. Like this is kind of all of your information on the internet. There's been like a weird, uncomfortable thing that's happened. I'm not gonna say it's bad necessarily, although it almost is. But right now, what you've essentially got is, you've kind of got maybe news articles and maybe some books and maybe some documentaries. You've got Wikipedia. Yeah. Then you've got podcasts, you've got Reddit, and then you've got blogs, okay? And all of them pull from Wikipedia. And then what happens is when you're searching on your search engines for information, you're pulling from like,
what was that?
You're either going to you're going to blogs, you're going to podcasts, you're going to YouTube videos, whatever. But at the end of the day, all of the information is coming essentially from Wikipedia. It's filtered from here. And
it's all from Wikipedia?
When you read a book, it allows you to break out of this cycle completely. And sometimes you can just find really new.
It's all information. Wikipedia. That's not. Business Insider. Feeling that openly edible kind of creators with by using volunteer service power and maintain full time work for free. Okay. Many facts on Wikipedia are supported by science sources. However, Wikipedia, like I said, will also research for or academic. Other academic where users. Many times tells you where to feel. Mossy link wall people have all yeah, okay. Feels like I can't verify that. I'm not saying he's wrong, but I can't verify that at the moment.
Refreshing information.
I don't feel
It doesn't
like
necessarily have to be information that's like, oh, all these guys are wrong. They're all fucking wrong. They're all missing. It's not necessarily that. It just, you get like a new, fresh perspective on things. You get, it's so much. One thing that I've noticed in all my note taking is that like the act of writing stuff and choosing what to include and what not to include, like it fleshes out and flavors things in important ways. And if you're only reading Wikipedia, or if you're only like looking at online sources, all of it kind of comes from the same place. And that's a little bit, yeah, not necessarily good.
I mean, yeah, it's not necessarily good, but at the same time, I feel like if I'm gonna be on the internet, I'm gonna be my goal is to be an authentic, like, down to earth person, to where like if I'm explaining something, it's gonna be like there's gonna be some thought behind it, there's gonna be some like introspection, yet at the same time it's gonna be an acknowledgement of the human experience and the human condition. That's my goal for what streaming for me is gonna be. In regards to what he just said, hold on, I gotta replay that.
Writing stuff and choosing what to include and what not to include, like it fleshes out and flavors things in important ways. And if you're only reading Wikipedia, or if you're only like looking at online sources, all of it kind of comes from the same place. And that's a little bit, yeah.
Oh, yes, that's what I was saying. And then part of that is acknowledging the aspect of populism in the world. If people, there are a lot of people who are skeptical of institutions and big businesses and all that, and how when big business and institutions navigate the world in a way different than regular people, it creates a schism there. And with that schism, when they see, all the information comes from one place, it's just like, in a way, it's the same reason why we don't like monopolies. We don't want one group, one individual, one entity being able to completely control a certain section or a certain dimension of life that we all have to like. We have to go through this thing. It's almost like, I don't know, whether it be food or grocery shopping or anything like that. Like, we have to eat to live. So if anyone has a monopoly within the bounds of grocery shopping or food, is extremely unsettling. Why does one person have the ability to affect all those people? And I feel like that's something that needs to be recognized.
Not necessarily good.
Which he does, because he says it's not necessarily good.
Yeah. I don't think starting with Wikipedia is bad. But then the scary thing about starting from a single source is, well, now you're completely beholden to whatever the narrative that individual author believes in the most, you know? Yeah.
Well, I would go so far as to say if you're going to write something, you should take that into consideration if you're going to be an author.
But I don't, that's true too. I don't know if we really need to research like the Franco-Prussian War. I don't know if that's that important, or I just need like the outcomes of it. The Franco-Prussian War seems like an arbitrary starting point. Might as well start with World War I if you're skipping everything before it. Okay, well, so here's what I'm worried about, okay? So I've said this before. You've heard me say this. You've heard me say what I'm about to say too. Meta. I've said before that the reason why I could do like math and physics really well in school is because it all built off each other, right? You can't do Calc 2 without Calc 1. You can't do Calc 1 without, I don't know, what's the word? Trigonometry and fucking...
Way stronger.
Pre-calc. How about that?
Yeah.
I mean, pre-calc is just what, like trig and geometry and algebra and advanced algebra, some bullshit, right? It all builds off each other. So it flows logically, okay? However, I think history does too. So if I'm, so for instance, like if I'm looking today at the war in Gaza, right? If I'm looking today at the war in Gaza,
Okay.
I feel like knowing a little bit about the Great March of Return in 2018 informs that a little bit. I feel like knowing about like the Second Intifada from 2000 to 2004 makes me understand why Israeli governments have gone to the right. I feel like knowing about the failures of the Camp David and the Taba Summit make me understand where the Second Intifada comes from. I feel like knowing about the failures of the Oslo Accord makes me understand where the failures of the Taba Summit come from. I feel like knowing about the First Intifada makes me understand where the Oslo Accord, right? And I feel like it all builds off of each other such that if I wanted to stake out a strong position, like if I want to stake out really strong positions about how I feel about like the failures of the Taba Summit, I feel like I need to know a little bit about like 1948 and what happened in that War of Independence. Like I feel like it's all kind of connected. So like if I want to learn a lot about World War II, I feel like it would be really silly to start at World War II. I feel like I would have to do World War One.
Yeah, a lot of Germany's aggression and outrage that started at the beginning of World War II, or that was the prerequisite to World War II, or whatever the fuck was the right word for that, was due to the outcomes of World War One. A lot of like economic disadvantage. A lot of people like blamed Germany. Germany got the short end of the stick after World War One. Generally speaking, that's what I remember from high school, and that's where which is why populism and we need a strong leader to take the world back and like fight for Germany, because it seemed like the whole rest of the world fucked us. So let's build ourselves up. Let's be as strong as can be. It's like it started that when Hitler took advantage of that, basically.
And then if I'm going to do World War One, I feel like I need at least the conditions leading up to World War One, and I'm probably going to have to look through the perspective of individual countries. So Germany is obviously a good place to start, and then it's just a matter of like, well, what's a good starting point for Germany? Maybe it is World War One, or like a little bit before World War One.
Sneeko, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Don't debate this nigga. You get cooked. Bro, don't debate this nigga, bro. Don't debate this nigga. Don't debate this nigga. You get cooked, bro.
Damn, you don't got no faith in them.
No,
Why is he debating this nigga, bro? Like, I've seen Sneeko debate this nigga, and everyone like, well, why is he debating him, bro?
Yeah, what?
So far every timestamp on this stream is zest-related, gay-ass stream.
Oh shit.
Like, no weird shit. I know everybody...
How do you have people like, how are people still homophobic in these communities? You got people like Tyler, the Creator, okay? Come on, what the fuck? Guys,
They would just call him
let's get over it.
They would just call him an outlier and ignore it.
Desi has some edgy ass shit, but like, this nigga's like smart. Like, I wouldn't debate this nigga.
what?
Like, he too, like...
It can't be that hard a concept to realize attraction like having a crush as a kid works the same way with gay people as straight.
Here's an easy question. What do you think?
Like, this nigga will cook me in a...
Could you watch a video or two to get the basic summary of the 30-year war and French Revolution so you get the important context before starting with the Franco-Prussian War? Nope.
I always hate that them dumbass, homophobic ass questions, bro. They're just so stupid. They're so stupid. You could just, not be gay. Okay, nigga. You just not be straight. You just stop being straight. It's a choice, right? You can just stop being straight, right? No, it's just, I've always been straight since I was born. I just been built that way. Just, okay. So when it comes to your sexuality, you just always been that way. But anything that happens to be different from you, it has to be learned. It has to be, it's just like, you have to prove that. You don't get to just fucking say that. It's stupid as fuck.
We'll just start reading. That was a god-tier conversation to expose Sneeko's lack of epistemology. Oh, it's just, I just hate the fake. If you're gonna be a Muslim, like, just learn it. You're not doing anything else with your life. Like, just learn it. You don't even have to, you're surrounded by the whole fucking world of Islam wants to embrace you and teach you. He's probably got, I bet he's got access to all of the best Muslim debaters online. That Muhammad Hijab guy and the Daniel Higi, whatever the dude, like all these guys would probably be frothing at the mouth to educate Sneeko and to give him tips. But it can't just be, if you guys are listening, I don't know if they listen to me or not. If any of you Muslim dudes are listening though, you can't just teach Sneeko how to debate. He has to learn like the fundamental tenets of your religion. Have some faith in it. Like this religion has existed for like, what, like 1,500 years? Like, trust that if you teach him the fundamentals and shit, he'll be able to eventually argue it. But like,
yeah, but at the same time, it's like you can lead a horse to water. Like how I don't follow Sneeko, but I just realized I had the fucking mic. Okay, there's like a lead a horse to water thing. I don't follow Sneeko. However, how long has Sneeko been talking about fucking Islam and practicing the Muslim faith? If it's been like over a year at this point, if he hasn't gone to search the information, if he can't answer these questions, he hasn't seriously gone to look for the information. I don't know how much these other people are going to help if he doesn't have that own interest in searching for it himself. You could take my approach and be like, bro, I don't look at studies, I don't look at sources and shit. This is just like what I've picked on from people around me and the world around me and how people behave. That's one way to do it. And if I did try to research shit, I would be compromised in that regard. So, boom, I don't research. I am perfectly fine in my ignorance.
Would you, when you say apologetics, does that only refer to Christian stuff, or can you have like Muslim apologetics?
You can have apologetics for all kinds of things. You could have Scientology apologetics. I believe apologetics is just what you say to make this is probably like a grotesque way to put it. Not grotesque, is bistro, but a uncharitable way to put it. Apologetics is the way you try to explain away or make excuses for whatever ideology you want to believe in. It tends to be used for religion.
Or like Jewish apologetics. Apologetics is the religious discipline of defending religious doctrines through systematic argumentation and discourse. Because I've heard apologetics in reference to Christianity. Can you have, it does refer to all religions? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, apologetics is hard, but, okay? And oh my God, aren't we lucky? Aren't we lucky, okay? Apologetics is hard, but you're not going to stumble across a single new argument, ever. Because people have debated these religions for...
That's true.
Centuries, okay? Technically not millennia for Islam, okay?
If
for
I
centuries. So you can literally look up apologetics, you can look at discourse, you can read a book, you can read dialectics between probably theocratic Islamic leaders and other leaders, you can read all this shit. Like, you can do this, okay? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, just read through. You could probably, I bet we could even Google, like, Muslim apologetics. 10 points for Christians to consider. There's gonna be so much of this shit. Just learn. There's no excuse not to. If this is gonna be your main grift, at least learn it. Fuck. The problem is that Sneeko literally talked to some of the best Islamic scholars. Faris al-Hamadi, I don't know what it is. He just shuts his brain down and doesn't absorb any of the knowledge. It's actually infuriating to watch his, yeah, because he's like looking for debate points instead of like absorbing. But that's like another irritating thing too. Like, religions aren't debate points. Like, you should be like absorbing, like if somebody asks you a question of like, what would God think of a sinner? You have to have more than like witty slogans or witty one-line responses. Like, you should be able to talk at length.
Having to explain my religion to a heathen like you.
How does God feel about those who sin? What does it mean to truly repent for something? Hint, it's not just saying I'm sorry and doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah, you should have an understanding. I don't know why I'm explaining this. I don't care. It's just annoying and frustrating. And if you're a Muslim, you should be ashamed that like Sneeko is your representative. You guys need to vet your simps harder. Why would I ever defund the police when they're about to help these spoiled children face consequences for the first time in their privileged, anti-Semitic 80,000 a year tuition lives? How much you want to bet? What percentage of these people at this campus do you think are even students? My guess is 50%. Oh my God. I just realized, do you know how Sneeko is? There's only one thing worse to a militant Muslim than a non-Muslim. And that's an ex-Muslim. Oh no. Oh shit.
He's feeling so much. Just attack him now. We're gonna start putting
protester at NYU has no idea what she's protesting for.
Not until 200.
And what would you say is the main goal with tonight's protest?
I think the goal is just showing our support for Palestine and demanding that NYU stops. I honestly don't know all of what NYU's doing.
Is there something that NYU's doing?
I really don't know. I'm pretty sure they're... Do you know what NYU's doing?
Didn't they fire one of the missiles at Gaza?
About Israel. Why are we protesting here? Palestine will be free! I wish I was more educated. I'm not either. I came from Colombia. I was there up at Colombia, and we came down. They said NYU
I think the mic volume issue is because some people use earbuds. With my overseer, I can run the stream at 20% volume, but earbuds almost need a volume booster. So it's probably no. I don't believe you. We're not doing this anymore. I'm banning people that complain about the volume. You have hearing problems. I'll check. I've got AirPods. Hold on. Let's listen. I'm gonna listen on my earbuds. Let's check. Can I hear this? Is it loud enough? Let's find out. Okay. Even when I'm in like kind of mumbling, my volume's at like, it's higher. It's at like 60%. And that's what the background, that's what the ambient sound on. Hold on, let me turn that off. I'm at 50% on my AirPods. It's a little quiet at 50%.
Won't stop healing. Like, oh my God, yo,
But
stop spamming
I can hear it perfectly clear. Like,
you're spamming it so hard. Like, Jesus Christ. Look how many times he's using Cure. What a crutch.
this is totally fine. Please check with AirPods on Android. Kill yourself. Shut the f up.
I ran out of fucking...
You got,
yeah,
dude, it happened.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that the thing that I said would happen did happen, okay? And it's what I complained about. I copied these complaints from other devs, but it's what I complained about like 5-10 years ago. That having individual volume controls on every fucking thing. So having individual volume controls on Discord, having the ability to mute individual windows, having the ability to change my volume like right here on the player here, and then having the ability to change my volume.
You can't kill me as long as I heal myself over and over again. Like, just say you a bitch and move on.
Here, and then having an inbuilt volume mixer here. It's too much shit. It's way too much shit.
God. You're yelling.
Way too much volume controls everywhere. So now all the volumes across all of the internet are completely... But that's okay, because you can change all the 50 million different individual volumes you have. Some of the motherfuckers have volume controls on your headphones. You may be plugged into things with volume controls.
No, fuck.
You got volume controls on your speakers. I hate all of you.
Fucking shit.
I'm not either. I came from Colombia. I was there out at Colombia, and we came down. They said NYU students. So I came down.
There's something very funny about a white girl in New York saying like, I came from Columbia. And you're like, damn, really? The private university up the street.
Because when I hear Colombia, I'm thinking about the country. But... or if you're around where I'm from, then the town.
There's lots of cops. Some people were saying it was getting dangerous.
I'm wondering though, and I'm not trying to be offensive in any sense, but I've had debates with a lot of blue-haired feminists and these types of people. And when I talk about my interest in Islam, they bring up the fact that the Prophet Muhammad, he was married to a girl that was underage. What is the response to that? Because I don't know how to respond to that in debate.
Yeah, we've done, I'm part of something called the Sapiens Institute, which is the institute which I co-founded.
How do you respond to that, bro? I want to hear this.
Common questions in the West, like why is it that the Prophet Muhammad, married Aisha at the age of 9, or there was
No, hold on, what did he say?
Because I don't know how to respond to that in debate.
Yeah, we've done, I'm part of something called the Sapiens Institute, which is the institute which I co-founded. We've done a 3-part series on this question, because it's one of the most common questions in the West, like why is it that the Prophet Muhammad, married... it
is a pretty fucking common question, nigga.
Aisha at the age of 9, or there was
I think he married her when she was 6, didn't he? They fucked at 9, but...
intimacy at the age of 9. And so the first thing I would say is that if you want a more detailed answer of what I'm about to mention now, you can obviously go and see these. I've done 3-part series. The second thing I would say is that, look, first and foremost, you could technically believe in Islam and not believe that the Prophet ﷺ, or Prophet Muhammad, married Aisha at the age of 9. In other words, it's not an article of faith. One must believe that the Prophet Muhammad married, Aisha at the age of 9, or that there was some kind of consummation. I'm not saying this is a red herring that many people try and bring about.
Okay, yeah, but like, if that's the case, fine. But why are there people who defend it? That's the thing. Like, just like, hey, this isn't even a part of the faith. But you got this other guy over here like, the reason why it's okay. It's like, it's not a good look, man. It's not a fucking good look.
In order to create some kind of a distraction to the key tenets of Islam. But let's take the historical account, because quite frankly, there are some revisionist accounts, which some people have...
His question is so telling. Give me a talking point for debating instead of help me deepen my creed or something like that. Yeah, I know. I wasn't going to bring it up because I don't know the full context of this conversation. Maybe that's how it started. But, like, listen, if you are religious, okay, you should be an atheist because that's based. But just if you are religious and you have questions about your religion, you can go to, if you've got a good church or a good synagogue or a good mosque, those are the three big ones, right? You could go to these places, you can ask them critical questions. Ask the lead preachers or ask the lead, whoever the name of your people with the hats in the books are, or whatever. You ask them like, hey, I don't understand this. Like, how is it that, like, if God is real, why do kids get bone cancer? That just seems crazy to me. Like, can you explain that? Like, if God, like, or I read this thing on the internet, and it says that if God is all powerful, what is it? If God is all powerful and doesn't do anything to help evil, then he's evil. If God is all powerful and is willing to get rid of evil, then whence comes the evil? And if God is neither all powerful nor wants to, why call him God? There's some bullshit like this or whatever, right? Like, how do you explain that or whatever, right? You can go to any of your preacher people and ask them this, and they'll give you answers. They should have answers for you. They'll give you additional reading to do, and they'll give you like a long conversation about it. Like, every good church, I imagine it's the same with mosques, and I imagine it's the same with synagogues. Do you call them synagogues or temples? Right? I imagine the same with all of these, that they should encourage you to have like critical questions about your religion. Remember, these religions have existed for thousands of years. You're not going to show up as a new believer and ask a procession leader or one of your lead priest guys. You're not going to ask them a question they never heard before. They've probably heard it. They've probably answered it. They'll be able to like give you guidance on this shit. And also, don't just ask for winning debates. Ask to deepen your understanding of the religion. If it's a faith you truly believe in and you're having questions.
I brought forward today and said, no, she wasn't 9, she was 18, or she was 21, or whatever. Looking at it myself, I don't agree with those accounts. I think that those accounts are not correct. I think it's correct that he married her at the age of 9. That's what happened, and that's something that she mentions herself, in fact.
I think it's correct that he married her at the age of 9. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, what a fucking statement. I think it's correct that he married her. Holy shit.
And it's narrated inside.
Damn.
Authentically. So the question is,
God damn.
The real answer is,
God
kind
damn.
of alluding to it before, which is that we have
That's wild.
social constructs, not the kind that the feminists and the ones on the far left are talking about.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Well, if you disagree that marrying a 9-year-old is wrong, that's just feminism. You disagree when they're marrying a 9-year-old? Feminism. It's just the Western culture we live in. That's all it is. It's just a Western culture.
Social construct, like for example, whose Butler said sex itself, biological sex, the penis in a sense, is a social construct. We're not talking about, we do have some social constructs. And ironically, I think the social constructs are those things which cannot be empirically justified. And I think one of those things is the idea of childhood. I'll be totally honest with you and tell you. How do we determine what is a child? I mean, historically.
Sure. What are we? 9? Not even double digits. No, we're not even talking about double digits. And you argue that's where you're arguing from. That's the hell you want to die on.
We understood the idea of childhood as corresponding with
puberty.
3 times 3, motherfucker. that's what you died. That's what your hell is. Okay.
When you have your first period, when you can have children, it's going to be around children, I think.
Either biological ability or psychological capability or a combination of both.
Oh, okay. That's more than I expected.
Yeah, but in today's world, you could argue for something. I would never argue for fucking 9. But if you were to argue back in like the 1500s, where you're moving out of your parents' house at 15, 16, adulthood, all you have to know is how to learn to farm and what religion is, and I don't know, how to talk to people in the village and trade and all that. You've pretty much figured out life by the age of like 15, 16 back in the 1500s. Like it, so it's like adulthood back then was 15 because that's how they lived. They moved out, they started families, and they died at like 39. So it's just like, of course, like compared to now, you live to like 80 and you don't really start living and you don't really know the world till you're like 26, 27, 20. Like you don't have enough experience to really like, I don't think an 18-year-old is an adult, personally. I know that's what the law is, but at 18, I was a dumbass. And I'm pretty sure most people at 18 are dumbasses. Like, I don't know. I don't know if 18, there are high schoolers who are 18, and they're adults. You in high school, but you an adult? What the fuck kind of world we live in, bro? Explain that one to me.
the ability of somebody to work or to be domestic or have effective domesticality and all these kinds of things. What I looked at the issue from a historical perspective.
Also, Sneeko trying God, the most cringe thing that of everything that Sneeko has ever done is when he tries so fucking hard to hold this like ultra serious face. It is the cringiest thing in the world. Oh my God.
I started to realize why the West in particular has started to redefine what it means to be a child. And I think I've got the answer. Because, you know, in the 1800s, you'll find that, quite frankly, people were getting married in the United Kingdom at the age of 10, 12, and in America, all the way down in Delaware, it was actually 9 years old, or 7 years old. It was legal to get married at this age. So when did it shift? It actually shifted here in the United States.
It shifted when the world shifted, bro. People were adults at 15 centuries ago. In today's time, with the complications of the world, with how to navigate it, technology, the social media, like, it's not 15 today is not 15, is not the same 15, 600, and that's 500 years ago. 600 years, imagine when these books were written, like 2000, you were probably an adult at 13, which is as weird as it is. I feel like they figured you an adult the moment you could procreate. That's what it feels like. Oh, you can have children? You're an adult now. It's just like, I mean, that's, okay, that's back then.
Kingdom. When 1914, obviously, as you know, 1914 to 1918, there was World War I. And after World War I, there was an infrastructural mess in parts of Western Europe. And the ideas of education started to change. So legislatively, there was a law that was put forward in 1924 or 1925, I cannot remember exactly the year, but it was a law that changed the marriage age from 12 years old to about 16 years old.
When did he...
Wondering though...
This was a year ago? He had this whole breakdown a year ago and he couldn't give any of this as an answer to me? What the...
So in England...
That means he either was not listening or did not retain the information. Something. I don't know how someone can give you all the answers. It's like looking in the back of the math book and still getting the answers. We're not even writing anything down more accurately.
Where I'm speaking from, the age to get married was 12, and then it changed to 16. Now, you might ask, what is the reason? Actually, funny enough, ironically, once again, part of it was to do with some protesting from the first wave feminists. I looked at some Hansard records, which are basically the records of Parliament and so on, so I wanted to see what exactly the reason was. Another part of the reason, in my opinion, was the fact that education started to be seen as, or when somebody would finish education, would start to be seen as the appropriate time of when adulthood begins. So in the United Kingdom, for example, I think in America it's very similar, the age until compulsory education is 16 years old. So it's almost as if they're telling us, look, you're not a real man, you're not a real woman.
Oh, also, I bet when Sneeko was asking this question, Sneeko just wanted a snappy, like, give me the 30-second debate response, and now he's like, fuck me, this guy's gonna fucking yap for 10 minutes about this shit.
You're not an adult yet until you finish the educational program that we have in place for you. You have to be 16 and then you're an adult then. Now, this is completely alien in the historical landscape. I mean, this has never been how any civilization, almost at any point in time, in 5,000 to 6,000 years of human civilizational existence, has ever understood what it means to be an adult. Now, I'm not saying, therefore, we should change it and go back to our old days, because it's very difficult now to get a young person of today to do the actions that they were doing yesterday. But what I am saying is that it makes no sense to take these social constructs, which are not based on biological facts, they are merely social constructs, literally things which...
What would be the ideal response and justification of not getting morals and values, not from religion, but what feels right or wrong? If you're going to do that type of argument, you're having a meta-ethical argument and you're having an epistemic argument. Like, where does truth come from? What is goodness? And that's going to be like a really deep, involved argument. There's not like a quick way to do that, right? I feel like as much as I said it was cringe before, also my opinions on ethics and everything changes every 2 years. So whatever I'm telling you now, I'm probably going to have a different opinion in 2 years. Before I used to say like intuition and moral intuition, everything was like ultra fucking cringe and lame. But now actually I kind of feel like, yeah, I think most morals are kind of just like intuitively arrived at, which is why I think thought experiments and hypotheticals are really good ways to test moral boundaries. Because like, well, what does it feel like? Where's our feeling at here? And then you can kind of like, after you have the feeling, then you can kind of go back and try to write the rule, basically. I guess the thing that I would appeal to is like, okay, well, there are so many different religions all over the world. Certainly, we can't agree that all of these religions are correct, but isn't it curious that all of these religions roughly have about the same values, right? Like, you don't have the pro-murder religion. You don't have the pro-child rape religion. You don't have the pro-stealing religion. There seems to be these, like, core intuitive moral values that every single civilization has kind of arrived at, more or less. And, like, even in the different religions, all these things manifest. But that's like what I just gave there, I think might be more of a question of epistemology than ethics, because now what I'm really talking about isn't necessarily like where do ethics or morals come from. Now I'm challenging the epistemic authority of your religious book, because the counter to that the person would give wouldn't be an ethical argument, it would be an epistemic. They say, well, hold on, I don't give a fuck about the other shit. My morals come from this book. I don't care what other religions say. You know, maybe they got lucky, maybe they got whatever. How do you think that? You know, yeah. So I don't know. This would be like a really in-depth conversation. I probably wouldn't even, depending on who I'm arguing with, I wouldn't even be able to do it well. Like if I argued with this Muhammad hijab guy, this guy would, my guess would be he would destroy me on almost any argument related to ethics, because he literally does apologetics. Anybody that does apologetics would crush me in these conversations, because I don't have the depth of knowledge, either philosophically or religiously, to hang.
Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second. I'm going. I gotta clean up a little bit.
Relativistic understanding by liberal people after the.
Okay, hold on. Fuck. Shit. Oh. Fuck. Are you kidding me? Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. We was backing up and it was the fucking video, but then you just decided, nope, I'm gonna back up the whole fucking browser because fuck you, nigga. Okay. Okay. Actually. All right. Alrighty. Okay. All right. Back to it. All right. Oh, we are done in Chaos Tower. Fuck. Gotta go all the way back. Gotta go all the way back.
Hijab guy, this guy would, my guess would be he would destroy me on almost any argument related to ethics, because he literally does apologetics. Anybody that does.
That's true, but from what I've seen about religious people when they come to arguments and shit, it's usually either presuppositionalism, where I'm going to start off with assuming that God is true and God revealed the truth to me, and you have to argue against that. I'm just that's going to be where we're starting off. I don't have to justify God because God is self-evident, and it's just like, why would you even agree? If you actually believe that, I don't know why you would agree to argue with anybody, because there's no way out of that. You're starting off with the assumption, or you're starting off with the belief that God revealed the truth to you. Can anyone argue out of that? If the answer is no, then why would you even waste time arguing with anybody? Or, hey, we don't understand you don't have a foundation for morality. My foundation for morality is God. Okay, how do you know God is right? Because it's God. So it's right because it's Him, and that's it? If I said that about anybody else, you would look at me crazy. But simply because it's God, then it's like, arguments that you would not accept for any other situation, now that you accept for this, so you need something more than, well, because it's this. You're gonna have to need something more than that. Sorry. Especially if you're gonna say you're not gonna accept that from literally anybody else, but we have to accept that from you. Nope.
Apologetics would crush me in these conversations, because I don't have the depth of knowledge, either philosophically or religiously, to hang in these conversations, would be my guess.
Have been put in place or have been understood to be okay, aesthetically pleasing, relativistic understandings by liberal people after the First World War and Second World War, to be more particular. It became even more pronounced because there was an even bigger mess then, infrastructurally, and then they needed education even more to fix up economies. And so this idea of childhood corroborating or corresponding or being commensurate with educational age, or the end of childhood being when the education ends, became even more prominent. So what I'm saying is that, yes, it did happen, according to the most authentic historical account. And no, we don't think there's any problem with it at all. We think that it's just because we have a different idea of what it means to be a child, which can be...
As a debater, why are you looking past the fact that these Muslims never answer the question directly using the Quran? Aren't you hearing the mental gymnastics they are doing? Well, I wouldn't call them mental gymnastics, but the problem is...
I would, depending on what it is,
yes. I asked the question yesterday is what Sneeko did was he staked out way too strong a position, which is that the Quran is perfect and has never changed. And that's probably a defensible position, because I don't think the Quran has ever changed. It's not like the Bible where you've got different books coming in and out and everything, right? I don't believe the Quran has ever changed. However, now you need to be able to defend, okay, well, why is it that some people are, why do some people believe in, follow like different hadiths, or why do some people think that, you know, Muhammad declared an actual
Muhammad.
Like if I would have asked Sneeko, like, what's the difference between Shia and Sunni Muslims, which I think is that, it's whether or not Muhammad actually named an heir or not. Sneeko probably wouldn't know the answer to that, right? So even if the book is perfect, obviously you're still gonna have different interpretations of it, which is why you've got apologetics, and you can't just read the book and get all the answers. So I don't know. I think it's always, and then obviously those interpretations.
Yeah, but like, when you think about that, it's kind of like, didn't it kind of just give the game away? Hey, here's a book. Like, how many times does that happen? Maybe because it's just like, it's not as important because it's like how close religion is to people's lives. But when you read any book, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Like, let's say you read Harry Potter or Animorphs to show you how dated I am. I don't know. When you read any book, if you read a book and then like you get wildly different interpretations from everybody who reads it, like how many people say who read Harry Potter like, no, Harry didn't have a scar on his forehead. No, Voldemort didn't try to kill Harry when he was a child. Just like, no one ever has arguments like that, but when it comes to religious texts, everyone has like a differing opinion of the people who accept it. It's just like, it doesn't make, I don't know. You would see, like, if it was as simple as it was, you would probably see way more conformity. You wouldn't have different sects, especially with Christianity. It's like, Jesus Christ, there's like 1,000 different ones.
Are going to be held hostage by whatever the cultural or historical context is. Like this guy's saying, like, well, how we evaluate who's a developed child is going to differ based on the, based on the values of the society you're in, how old children are when they.
I mean, yeah, all of this is true, but like, if you can't give an answer, if someone asks you what the age of consent is, and in today's time, unless you're fucking Amish or like something to where like your world and your environment isn't where the rest of where we all are, it's like, I don't know. It's like your answer needs to, in today's time, your answer needs to be at least, I'm starting to think 18 is probably a little low. Like the way like the world is, I don't know if an 18-year-old in today's time should be considered an adult. That's a lot of people in their mid-20s, in their late 20s, early 30s. People are like, yeah, 18, that's still a baby. What are you talking about? That's a child. Like, it's like you ask people that. It's like, if we all feel that way, shouldn't the age of consent be raised a little bit? I don't know. There's something I think about.
Has changed. We'd say that the general principle in Islam is, you can do what you kind of want, so long as, I'm not going to say you can do what you want so long as you harm. You can marry whomever you want to marry, so long as it doesn't cause them harm, physical and psychological. So, for example, if I marry a 100-year-old woman, or Sneeko, if you marry with your tank top 100-year-old,
as long as I don't cause them psychological or physical harm. But that's the thing. You don't know if you're marrying a fucking 9-year-old. The 9-year-old cannot grasp the situation enough to be able to tell you if they are being harmed. That's the thing. This is why you just don't marry a 9-year-old, bro. You got grown women out here looking good as fuck, some nice ass bodies, and he's like, nah, bro. All that thickness you got? Nah, bro. But on the other hand, that 9-year-old, it's just like, are you serious, bro? Like, what the fuck? Why are you defending this?
Like, it's so cringe, bro. Nobody's gonna think you're gay for smiling. You're
yeah, this nigga looks serious as fuck. Look like you on trial. No, I did not shoot that motherfucker. I swear to God, but he had it coming.
Okay, like your masculinity is okay, bro. Like this is look at like you're fine. You can laugh.
Oh,
it's
excuse
not
me.
gay to laugh. No one's gonna think less of you, dude.
Excuse
you don't have
me.
to like this is so performative and cringe.
Marry whoever you want to marry.
You think I'm serious as shit. You do.
So, for example, if I marry a 100-year-old woman, or Sneaker, if you marry with your tank top a 100-year-old woman, and you know, and you get involved with her intimately, she might die. I mean,
Snow Hill,
she might have
right.
some kind of health problem. So we would say that, well, if you were to be intimate with a 14-year-old or 13-year-old who's got huge hips and huge breasts and huge body, I mean, quite frankly, we would say it's not going to have the same effect medically. I mean, no one can make the argument. But in these countries where we live in now, one is legal and one is illegal. So, in other words, you can't marry a 100-year-old woman, but you can marry that girl that's, you can't. So you're a pedophile if you go for the girl that's got the hips. And once again, pedophilia is very relative because if you go to Russia, the age of consent is 14. In England is 16. In parts of America is 18. In other parts of America is 18. In other parts of the world is 21. So one man's pedophile is another man's good citizen, liberal actor. So the point of who sets the age is another issue because it's very arbitrary at this point. But we're not saying therefore we should go back to a time where the age is not set. We're not saying any of that stuff.
No.
We're just saying that to use this as an argument against the veracity of the truthfulness of the religion.
No. I understand the argument, but this is like no. This is like fuck. Why did I go back here? Fucking shit. There's no arguments like we don't live in a world where you can justify that anymore. Like people are children at 18, dude. At 18, people live all the way up to 80 and less than late 80, 85, 90, 95, 100 people to 100. You're 18, motherfucker. You probably live with your parents the whole time. Your whole life has been on rails. This is your schedule. You're gonna eat at this time. You're gonna wake up and go to sleep at this time. You're gonna go to school at this time. It's just like your whole life has been like, this is what the fuck. There's no decision making. You don't know what you don't even know who you are, probably. Maybe you have an idea, but like you don't know how you react in certain situations. You don't know how you feel about certain things until you've experienced them. You're not an adult at 18. You're not an adult at 18.
Of Islam is unsatisfactory, I would say. What do you think about that?
Yeah, your whole
also,
argument is fucking unsatisfactory, my nigga.
I'm not a teacher, so no, I've taught before. No, but I will give this stronger criticism, okay? I think that if you do apologetics, like if you're Muhammad Hijab here and you're trying to teach somebody, I feel like the conversation needs to be way more involved. I would be really scared of if I'm lecturing somebody for really even more than 3 minutes without asking them a question or to make sure they're following the conversation, I feel like you should have the person be way more involved in the conversation. Like, hey, like in the past, like some children started working at like 13 and 14, right? Or today, some children don't work till they get out of college when they're like 22, right? You know this, right? Like ask them questions, make sure they're still like following along and involved in the conversation. Like yapping at somebody for 8.5 minutes, and then asking them if you got all that right, I think is kind of...
I'm not going to disagree or agree with Destiny here, but look, the rhetorical strategy here is just like it's probably I don't know if he's doing it on purpose. It's probably like at this point, he's been debating for so long that he'll say the word yapping. Yapping indicates like you're just going on and on, which is his argument. He is going on, but the word. Listen to the words that people use when they're saying things, when they're arguing, when they're making their statements. Yeah, the words that people use like reinforce certain ideas without them even having to say it.
Yeah, not good.
I feel free to push back.
I think that's a good explanation. I think 9 is very young. It's
Did he listen to anything that he just said? He literally started off with, listen, you don't have to believe in 9. It's not like a core tenet of Islam to think that 9 years old is a marital age. And it is young, but he's talking about how culturally the age can be relative. Like 9 might be young to you today, but in the past, children might have been in the farms out in the fields working at 6. Who knows?
Like the world around you, in a lot of ways, dictates what is socially or culturally acceptable. And the real conversation, which most people don't even want to get into, how much does what is socially or culturally acceptable impact your psyche when certain experiences happen. That is not a conversation the world is ready for.
I think that's a good explanation. I think 9 is very young.
Yes, it is, Nico. Good job.
I would kill myself. This would be it. It would. Shaheen,
what kind of answer is that
here.
to all of
If
that? Well, 9 is very young.
This is what
just
Allah
like
has tasked you with.
you're just.
This is your student.
You're making a comment on how young 9 is, but not necessarily if it's wrong. Why not just say it's wrong, bro? Like why? Like. Imagine if somebody asked you, "Hey man, do you think it's all right to hook up with like a 9-year-old?" Well, 9 is very young. Nigga, what? Nigga, what?
Yes, I mean 9 is
Nah.
Yeah, it's very young.
Nah.
How old was Muhammad at the time? We don't need to stay on the subject.
Like what?
Okay.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. Oh. How old was Muhammad at the time?
Oof, hold on.
What a question. Holy shit, that caught me off guard. What a question.
An IQ.
Holy shit.
I have to give him an IQ down rating in my head. Part of the reason why I say people are smart or not smart is because they can take new information and process it, which I feel like Sneeko can do decently well. But feels like he didn't engage with this at all. But maybe he's getting an IQ up rating in my head because he realized all of this is so fucking retarded, but he's just grifting anyway. So now he's just like shit posting through. He's like, I mean, isn't 9 kind of young, bro? I don't know.
There's other we can talk. I was just wondering because in debates I want to figure out how to continue because that always comes up, especially from Christians.
I agree.
When the debate comes up, I wanted to see how to navigate that.
Okay, what is young? What does it mean to be young?
Oh
to be
boy.
innocent, to be childlike and even not even going through puberty, also physically not matured yet.
Okay, there we go. Like this is a better train of thought.
Answer in a conversation. Maybe because it was on the spot, but like I don't know. I don't know, man. I would at least have some idea. I would have at least the first and second layers to questions. If someone asked me, "What do you believe?" I would be able to answer why, and then be like, if they ask me why, yeah, I would be able to answer what I believe and why, like the like outer layer and then the layer below that. If you can't even answer that, or if you just soy the fuck out, hey, why do you think this is wrong? Why would you even ask that? It's like, I don't want to have a conversation with you. You're probably too stupid to think yourself it's wrong because it's gross. I'm like, all right, thank you. Go have a conversation with the next motherfucker, not me.
I feel like Muhammad's earlier ramble was like for a more sophisticated, educated, like somebody that's a little bit deeper. And like lectures are things that you can only absorb when you've got like a sufficient foundation of knowledge. But now, yeah, you have to talk to him like he's young enough that Muhammad would have married him. You need to talk to him like this, as a young child, and then ask him questions. What does it mean to be young, Sneeko? That's a better approach, I think. Unironically, it is.
To be childlike and even not even going through puberty, also physically not matured yet.
Okay, beautiful, excellent. So you've mentioned some key terms, right? Innocence and puberty, because these are things which are measurable. Now we can start to talk about it. Frankly, we believe that Aisha at the time she had gone through puberty. So we actually have evidence of Aisha saying.
What do you think of hijab? He sounds decently smart. Maybe. I would never say somebody doing apologetics sounds smart, though, because these could be very advanced dialogue areas. To truly know if somebody like is intelligent, you have to get them argue with somebody else, because these guys will sound very smart, like YouTubers or YouTube essayists, but then when you pull them into a critical conversation, they can fall apart immediately. I'm not saying that he would necessarily do that, but I'm saying that can happen.
That she had gone through puberty at that time. So that's one aspect. The reason why he didn't marry her before, because she hadn't gone through puberty yet. Now, if you look at the numbers of people that go through puberty at whatever age, you will find a percentage of people even today that go through puberty at the age of
somebody
9.
Called Peter.
So yes, 9 is very young.
You're killing bears.
I still can't get over the silliness of an Islam advocate dude named Muhammad Hijab. It's almost like his parents.
His name is.
When I first heard that, I was like, no shot.
His name is Muhammad Hijab. I'm sorry. That's like, what's your name, black dude? Tyrone Johnson. Alright, Joe.
But then I mean, like in our research, there's people named like fucking Muhammad. So it's like,
yeah, Muhammad. That's a crazy
listen,
name.
bros. Oh fuck! Wait, has anybody made that meme? Like the Matt Walsh thing, what is a woman? Replace it with Sneeko and do like, what is a child? Somebody must have made that.
Oh man, that's a rough meme. This idea of what that would look like. What is a child?
Wake up every morning and choose not to be gay. Do you choose that? True. Choosing so hard today not to love cock. What? There's a name for this. It was so funny that we stumbled into this as well. And Sneeko had no idea. I can never pronounce it. Is it Euthyphro?
Excuse me.
What the is the name of this?
Sorry, I have
There's a moral philosophy,
lung thing
theological
going
argument that
on
has to do with
at the moment. So
is it
coughing up,
it good because God commands
coughing
it,
up a lung.
or is it
Not good.
or does God just command what is good? What's it called?
The Euthyphro dilemma.
The Euthyphro.
Yes.
Euthyphro? I don't know.
Euthyphro.
But it's like a classic question of divine command theory. I think is one solution to this, which is the idea that I think things are good because God commands them.
Which is that's a very hairy position to take. It's good because God told me it's good, which means no matter what God is telling you, it has to be good. No matter what God is telling you, it has to be good. Hey, kill your whole family. All right, it's the right thing to do because you told me to. And you're God, like you have, like no matter what, you can't escape from. Oh, if God did tell me anything bad, it wouldn't be God. It's like you don't get to determine that. Who are you? You're who are you to God? You can't tell God it's not God. Who are you? Like what? And how convenient. Well, when any time it's something terrible, well, it's definitely not God. It's just like all right, bro. And then if that's the case, how do you determine who is telling you when and when it is not terrible? If that is the case, it's like, well, only when it's bad it's not God. Okay, how do you know it's bad? Who do you listen to for that? Well, you see how it like all becomes circular? It all crumbles at a certain point when you just ask a certain amount of questions?
That's why they're good. But there's an idea that, like, you know, is it good because God commands it, or does God command it because it's good? Is the goodness something that exists separate from God, or whatever? I don't know, like, the full detail of how this argument goes.
Is something good simply because the gods say it is so? Or is good independent of God? Or is God saying this is good because God knows it to be good and is separate from God? Because if it's the first thing, God could tell you that rape is okay. Because if God says it, it must be moral. So if God says kill these people, murder these people, steal from these people, rape these people, if God is telling you that, it has to be true. Or there are certain things, don't kill people, don't steal. These are good things to do. And that is separate from God. Because it's not good just because God says so. That's the question.
Back and forth. But it was just funny that came up, and Sneeko had, like, never even considered this before. And he was like, well, it's good.
Like,
why is it
that's
good?
like
Well,
apologetics 101.
It's like, oh, what if he told you tomorrow to kids? Would you do it then? You kind of have to bite. I think if you're divine command theory, bro, I think you kind of have to bite the bullet on that one. I don't think Sneeko.
Yes, and the apologetics response to that is, yes, I would have to listen to God. Because God is all-knowing when it comes to morality. And who am I to question? So God has a bigger plan in case for me to do this. If God is telling me to do it, it's the correct thing to do. Who am I to question in my human experience, in my human life, in my limited experience that God is wrong? I will listen to God in a sense. Yes, that is the apologetics answer.
Sneeko would bite a bullet on anything, though, because he's a coward. The only bullets that those people will bite are ones that they don't even think are, like, disagreeable. They're like, I'll bite the bullet. We should beat the shit out of women. Yeah, no shit, because you think that's based.
What?
That's not what biting the bullet means. That's called jerking yourself off. Is gooning
I'll
good
bite the
because-
bullet when it comes to beating women. That is, what an insane fucking
Sneeko's like
statement.
is like 15
Jesus
years late
Christ.
from online atheism debates. Yeah.
I'll bite the bullet when it comes to beating women?
How do you know pedophilia is wrong? Because God said it's wrong. Oh.
Hey, yo.
Shit.
These
true.
internet people are wild.
William Lane Craig.
What a
That
statement.
I defend is called divine command morality, and this has two components to it. The first is that the good is based in God himself. God is the paradigm of moral goodness.
Yep.
He is by nature loving, fair, just, and so forth. The second element is that God's nature then expresses itself toward us in the form of divine commands that constitute our moral duties. According to this theory, moral obligations arise as a result of imperatives issued by a qualified authority. That makes sense. Like God would know what is good because goodness is part of God, and whatever God commands is obviously going to be mirroring whatever the goodness is because he's fucking God.
Yeah, but that is what circular logic is. That is the definition of what circular logic is, by definition. How do you know it's good? Because God says so. Well, how do you know what God says is good? Because goodness is within God. It's just part of His nature. Like it's circular. It is circular. You can at least stand on it. Oh fuck no! We're just ending the video. All right. Now we're reacting to this, but yeah, at least stand on that. At least say, yes, it's good because God says so, and no other reason. You gotta pick one. But Jesus, it's enough for this. That's why I don't. It's exactly why I don't bother with religion. I don't have the time for. There's a level of dishonesty that I am not. I can't do it.
Oh no! Hassan called it his worst performance because he started screaming and cursing out everyone on the panel.
Oh my God.
You look this person's mother in the eyes and you tell him that this was justified?
And then they get the worst Zionist lunatics. Like, if you want to play the phone game, how many millions of dollars would you need to spend if you wanted to buy one phone for every Palestinian that had their arms blown off? What a stupid talking point. Look at my phone!
Doing this.
He's so mad!
Please stop talking.
You're a fucking terrorist! God, you know what a killer talking point is? God, I'm gonna do the pro-Palestinian side. If the war was all about getting the hostages and the hostages are things that you care about the most, where the f are they at? Oh, there are so many good talking points here. Wait, why didn't she just give the answer to the question? Hassan, take notes. Who is this lady? She answered this question way better in giving the pro-Palestinian side.
For some reason.
Who is this person? Yes!
Well, you need a Xanax. Okay, so should Israel...
Yeah, no, don't interrupt me. I haven't asked you a question yet. One Hamas guy... Sorry, I need to ask you a question. You're being a ridiculous...
Oh my God.
Come on,
damn, Hassan is wild.
Don't fucking stop me!
Hi, Hassan.
Oh
this is
my
pathetic.
God.
Apologies, I thought you'd put the clip in the final cut. Ooh.
Well, the war in Gaza has incensed communities.
To be honest, I'm all for a little bit of unhingedness and mainstream news, mainstream politics. I feel like there's so much like. Let's use our indoor voices, shall we? There's like way too much of that to where it feels fake, and normal people don't talk like that. So why the fuck would I? It feels staged. I get a very staged feeling whenever I'm watching news and shit. So that's yeah, a little bit more unhingedness. Okay, I'll take it. I prefer it actually.
Why? He's on with these people? Oh no. Okay, thank you. I could have been on with way worse.
Show saying that it was a tragedy. It was atrocities that occurred on October 7th, specifically.
What is
when you target civilians in any capacity, I think that is unacceptable. However, this does not mean that violence will not occur in many circumstances. Violence has occurred in every single revolutionary action, many good revolutionary actions. Obviously, America bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki with an atom bomb, that was not a very
was
good
what Hamas did on October the...
And the reason why this is already going to come off a little weird on Hassan, no, I'm sorry. The reason why this is already going to come off a little weird on Hassan's end is because he is he is immediately criticizing the United States, and it's just like if they're talking about an Israel-Palestine conflict, the idea that like at least like not to start off with that because it almost comes off as a deflection to all the people who are watching.
Very good moment for human civilization at all.
Was what Hamas did on October the 7th. Was what Hamas did on October the 7th
a revolutionary
of what you would call a justified revolution?
Yes.
Say yes.
Oh God! Oh no! Oh, that's the age of consent question for Sneeko. All right. Okay. Okay, hold on. Time is frozen.
Destiny is a bit too hyped up for this.
How do we answer this if we're Hassan? Okay, well.
You could answer honestly.
I'm not saying it was justified, but what do you expect oppressed people to do? I'm gonna go with that one. Or pivot totally to Israel. Those are our two options. Pivot completely to Israel, or say, I don't know if I call it justified, but what are they gonna do?
Pivot.
History didn't start on October 7th.
This question.
It didn't happen in a vacuum.
Yeah,
October the 7th, an example of what you would call a justified revolution.
Okay.
I don't look at every single act of violence. I look at
You've
the
literally
players,
just been
I look
reciting
at
a whole
the
load of
systems
them.
of oppression.
Yeah.
Why
When
are
we
you
are analyzing it,
why are
and
you
do it
avoiding
too.
October the 7th?
You do it too.
Okay.
No, I don't.
I'm not avoiding it. I've talked about it a
Okay.
million times
Well,
over.
let me ask you
I'd
one
like
more
to
time.
just
Hang
say-
on, hang
This is
on.
not what we're here to discuss.
Emily, hang on.
This is not what we're here to
Hassan,
discuss.
let me
She
just ask
said
you. Let me
very
just ask you
specifically,
directly one
Israel's
more
not an
time.
apartheid state.
Let me ask you one more time. Do you believe what happened on October the 7th was a justified act of revolution? Yes or no?
Okay, one more time.
I do not, and I do think that by. Oh wait, hold on.
Okay.
Okay, wait, it wasn't, but okay, so we're going the one route. So it might not have been justified, but like, okay, so then are we gonna do but what do you expect to happen? These people are oppressed, open air prison, genocide, what do we got?
Let me clarify. Let me clarify something very important here. Events that unfolded on October 7 were atrocities. That much is clear. Those atrocities could have been avoided if Israel was not an apartheid regime.
There we go. What did you expect them to do? Palestinians are people when you're mean to them. You can't control for that, okay? It's just uncontrollable.
Israel has been.
Is human beings are messy creatures, and they're like, once if conditions are a certain way, you just tend to breed barbarous acts. That it just tends to be, from what I've noticed about history, if you treat people a certain way, if people live under certain conditions for long enough, it'll actually change their psychology to the point to where like they actually become different people. You're like, well, humans tend to do this, but it's like, do these people have the typical human experience? If the answer is no, then you're heretic for how people are going to behave. Do not apply to these people anymore. As sad as it is to say, descriptively speaking, with a group of people that feel like they have no rights, they feel like they can't move, they can get killed and tortured and whatever the fuck, or they feel like they're militarily occupied. If that's how they feel, right or wrong, if enough of them feel that way, then it'll breed anger, it'll breed violence, it'll breed murderous intent, it'll breed gross, disgusting acts, like killing women and raping children, like all it, like, it doesn't make it right, it's just a descriptive reality of just how humans behave. Like, I don't know.
In an apartheid
Can you
regime
answer
for
how
75
Israel's an
years.
apartheid regime?
In the
Because
early,
you keep repeating
no,
that.
you can't
keep
just
repeating
chime
that.
in. You can't just
Back
chime in.
it
You
with
ask me a question.
evidence.
You want it.
Why
you ask
is
me a question.
Israel an
I'm going to give
apartheid
you an
regime?
answer.
Because you're repeating
Israel
these
has been an
lies.
apartheid
Go
regime
ahead,
since
please.
its inception. Until
Hassan called it his worst performance because he started screaming and cursing out everyone on the panel. Is that true?
Until 1967, Israel was an apartheid regime for the Palestinian citizens of Israel, the Arabs, as you called them. There was a two-tier criminal justice system.
The Arabs, as you call. I mean, they were Arabs, but okay.
Were subjected to the military court processes and not the civil court processes until 1967. After 1967, they got citizenship. They were citizens of Israel, the Arabs, as you called them. There was a two-tier criminal justice system. They were subjected to the military court processes and not the civil court processes until 1967. After 1967, they got citizenship. There are obviously still many different social issues that pertain to the Palestinian citizens of Israel, the Arabs that are living in Israel.
I like how people that weren't citizens had different legal processes than people that were citizens. That's an interesting form of apartheid, which is supposed to be strictly about racial domination, or that's the main lens that you're supposed to be able to do. But okay, Chief.
Israel, those who are not.
I guess like it's different for like it's different. I feel like the reason why Destiny's criticism hits here is because like Hassan is a political commentator, so he's going to have not access to more information, but he's going to have a reason to look into things more deeply than a regular person. Like he's going to be able to determine, oh, okay, the difference between racial injustice versus Jim Crow versus apartheid. He should be the person to be able to distinguish between all those things. And if he can't, it's kind of like, bro, this is your bread and butter. Why can't you? You know what I'm saying? But to a regular person, there are some people that probably would call Jim Crow apartheid. Whether that's like right or wrong, all they see is this group of people gets treated this way, and this group of people get treated a worse way, and it's all about supremacy of the race that gets treated better. They have more rights, they can do more things, they have access to different things. Like, I feel like Jim Crow and I guess like you would just say like Jim Crow is apartheid on steroids. Like it's like the concept is the same, or maybe the foundation of something like Jim Crow would be the roots of apartheid, but it's just kind of like it's on the same spectrum at least. I wouldn't like they're not necessarily two different things. Just one is like scaled up, or they're the same thing to a different magnitude.
Jewish, of course. However, Israel currently is occupying the West Bank. There are more than 2 million Palestinians that live in the West Bank. Israel is illegally occupying the West Bank. There are checkpoints. There are license plates that restrict Palestinian travel. The Israeli operations in the West Bank have destroyed Palestinian statehood. Now, of course, all of this is readily available for those who want to learn about it, yourself included. I hope you look it up. B'Tselem is an Israeli human rights organization which declared Israel to be an apartheid regime in 2021, in April of 2021. Amnesty International declared Israel to be an apartheid regime.
Let me, before I move...
The Finkelstein points, I don't need to justify it. I'm just going to tell you like what these other people said. Okay.
Hang on. Before I just want to bring in our two British panelists here, but just finally, just to clarify, Hassan, I can't quite work out whether you said you do think October the 7th was an unjustified act of revolution, or whether you changed your mind. So can you clarify?
12 masks.
He's so mad. Oh, dude, British interviewers are brutal about holding you to answers on these things. Oh, did you see that eye roll? Did you see that eye roll? Yeah. He's like, bro, he's thinking right now, like, if you were a fucking chatter, even if you were a 21-month sub, I would have banged your fucking ass by now. You'd be getting lit the fuck up in my goddamn chat room, but I gotta sit here and fucking talk to you? God damn.
Was an unjustified act of revolution, or whether you changed your mind. So can you clarify?
I think that violent,
when countries are violent and oppressive, then people are gonna respond with violence. That's what I think. October 7th didn't happen in a vacuum. Come on.
Means of maintaining an apartheid is inevitably going to yield violent retaliation.
Yes. Okay. Do the vacuum. It's not in a vacuum. October 7th didn't happen in a vacuum. Do it. Come on. Do it. We're so close. I'm so close. I'm good. I'm edging. I'm so close.
Jesus Christ, yeah. You're about to nut in your pants over one of Hassan's answers. It's a little cringe. Just a little bit. I mean, I understand, but just a little cringe. Just a little bit.
Close. Do it.
So was it justified? Something that is completely avoidable.
Was it justified?
Civilian deaths are never justified.
We were close. We were close.
Look Poland's mother in the eyes. No, you look this person's mother in the eyes and you tell him that this was justified. You tell him his arm being blown off and being held in captivity for 200 days.
I do love that
and then they get the worst Zionist lunatics. Like, if you want to play the phone game, if you want to play the phone game, how much does an iPhone cost? $1,000? How many millions of dollars would you need to spend if you wanted to buy one phone for every Palestinian that had their arms blown off? What a stupid fucking talking point. Look at my phone! Look at my phone! Who the fuck cares? Like, if you want to play the numbers game, you want to put, like, pictures up, well, the Palestinians got a whole lot more pictures of dead people than you do, Chief.
Israel defender has no capacity to hear anything I'm saying.
Palestinians who are made of identity.
It just... If you're not gonna respect me and listen to what I have to say...
Oh, he did the... He gave her the... He gave her the...
Wait, you gave her the what?
Oh, he did the... He gave her the... He gave her the... He almost pulled a sneako there.
And hear anything I'm saying.
Palestinians who are made of identity.
It just, if you're not going to respect me and listen to what I have to say, which by the way, of course you don't respect.
If you talk over each other, nobody can hear you.
Oh, I just realized she's Jewish, right? Because she's got the Jew symbols, the star power or whatever.
I think it's the entire world.
Hang on, Emily, please. Let me handle this, Emily. Hassan, just before I come to the two people who are with me here, I just need some clarity here, because it seems like you're dancing around whether you think October the 7th was justified or not.
Why are we doing this back and forth masturbation? I've already given you my fucking position.
Why are you doing this?
Oh my god. Holy crap.
Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this back and forth masturbation? I've already given you my fucking position.
Why are you doing this? He's happy.
How would you thread the needle on this? October 7th is really hard to justify. Basically unjustifiable, right? But listen, if you do oppress a group of people for a long time and the entire world isn't listening to their pleas, and it seems like no amount of peaceful protests, the Great March of Return to get them any closer to peace, and you can go to the West Bank and you can see that in neighborhoods like Sheikh Jarrah, you've got Palestinians being kicked out of their historic homes because of Jewish landowners, and that's even in East Jerusalem. So, I mean, like, if you oppress a certain group of people for a long fucking time, what do you expect to happen? Of course, at some point, terrorist attacks are going to happen. Now, I don't condone the terrorist attacks. I think terrorist attacks are horrible. I don't support the attacks that happen on October 7th.
said earlier.
But if I'm going to condemn the October 7th attacks, I'm going to condemn the underlying conditions that led to those as well. As Martin Luther King said, riots are the language of the unheard. A riot is bad, but the unheard voices are also bad. Like, we should listen to these people, figure out what their problems are so these events don't happen in the future, right? I think this is how you, like, thread the needle in this answer. But, like, you can't say any of this. Because he can't give, like, any ground because it's all, like, ideological war. And at the end of the day, none of these people actually give a fuck about any of these things.
Okay, I just
Jews, it's okay.
Emily, stop
Next to me.
Emily,
IDF dog tag.
Jews, it's okay.
Please stop shouting at each
next to
other.
me wearing
The IDF dog tag. Are these dog tags? I don't know if it's fucking...
an IDF dog tag if she actually thinks Israel's actions are
bring them
justifiable.
home.
Do you
It's
see
to bring
me
the hostages home. The hostages,
All right,
you
it's something over each other.
doesn't matter. You know what
tunnels
it
of
is.
Gaza.
I'm going to give you two. I'm going to let you two calm down. It's pointless. We cannot hear you when you talk over each other. Every time recently, I have someone from both sides on. Like, it goes like this.
I'm wearing this rusty necklace.
Please, can you listen to me, Emily?
Civilians in Gaza right now.
Can you stop doing this to each other, please? Nobody can.
Didn't he basically say that, Destiny? No. I think you can actually pull in a lot of interpersonal relationship skills here with how you talk about this particular type of issue. Or not even relationships, but all sorts of relationships, friendships over too. When you do apologies or when you're trying to say something is bad, you have to be incredibly careful how you talk about that topic. Because there are so many ways that you can completely revoke any of the credibility that you would have earned doing a particular apology, right? So like, let's say for instance, let's say that my wife nags me and one day I blow up and I say, you're a bitch, right? There are two ways to approach this, okay? You can do the good apology way. It's gonna be something along the lines of like, hey, listen, I called you a bitch yesterday. I shouldn't have done that. There's no excuse for that. I'm really sorry, okay? We should have a conversation because obviously whatever is set up in our household right now, it's not working. I'm feeling really stressed out. It's making me do things that are unacceptable. Like we should talk about some of these things and whatever, right? In that type of apology, you haven't like tried to make excuses for or brush off or justify the unacceptable action of calling your partner a bitch, right? But if we say like, okay, listen, yesterday I called you a bitch, I shouldn't have. Holy how long were you nagging me for? Like, what do you expect to happen? Like, Jesus Christ, like, holy shit, you never shut the up. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, I called you a bitch. I shouldn't have done it, I understand that, but fuck, anybody would. I could have called you worse, holy shit, right? That doesn't feel or sound like an apology at all. Nobody is gonna hear that and interpret that as an apology. If anything, even though you're using the words, I'm sorry, the justifications following it come off as though you're not sorry at all. You're sorry you didn't go further. What do you mean? How are you telling me you're apologetic for something that you feel fully justified in having done? That doesn't sound like an apology, right? And that's the issue that you run into away from relationships and into politics when you make these types of things for like October 7th, right? For October 7th, regardless of what side you fall on, that is unacceptable. October 7th there is no justification for, probably not for the cause of war, definitely not for the behavior in war. There's just no justification there. And then that stops. But you can talk after about like the conditions that caused it, and you can talk about wanting to remedy those conditions so that it doesn't happen again on either side. But you have to be very careful you have that conversation. And I feel like when a lot of the pro-Hamas people talk, they come off as very much like, yeah.
Oh man, it's kind of the reason why I dissociate from politics generally is because everyone is like that. Imagine being so far gone that a terrorist attack, like you gotta hem and haw over a terrorist attack. But like that's almost, in my opinion, that's almost culty behavior. Like you can't say a terrorist attack is bad. You can't just say that. Like, or if you're gonna say, or at least explain, or at least describe environment in which terrorist attacks will happen. But you can't even say, yeah, this is bad, it shouldn't happen. Like imagine how far gone you have to be to where, like, you can't even do that.
Yeah, I don't support that, but here's like 50 million reasons why it should have happened. And all, like, why the fuck would you bring up acts of revolutionary war or compare it to the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings? Like, why would you ever draw those comparisons? It shows people where your mind is.
If you say, hey, this thing isn't justified, but I'm going to compare it to these other situations where most people would agree it's justified, it's just kind of like, so you think it's justified? It's just like that's, you know what I'm saying?
It shows people where your mind is. People are very smart when it comes to communication. 99% of what we say is unsaid. There's a lot of like subtle language, theory of language game type shit. And when your mind goes there to drawing comparisons to the atomic bombs, people are going to hear what you're feeling, right?
Nobody can understand a word either of you saying. Let me come to Esther and James here. This is one of my problems.
No, I want to hear if Emily condemns
the
Hassan,
you will please let me moderate the debate.
I've
got two panelists here who've not had a word yet. Please stop talking.
You're a fucking terrorist. Oh,
Did you say that?
Hassan, you will please let me moderate the debate.
I don't condemn the idea.
I've got two panelists here who've not had a word yet. Please stop talking.
Oh wow,
You're a
Hassan
fucking
says you're a
terrorist.
terrorist.
Oh,
Jesus.
he's mad.
That's ironic. That is ironic.
Right, but debate.
I don't condemn the idea.
I've got two panelists here who've not had a word yet.
Do you think you can have the follow-up conversation in a context like this? I suspect if you made the argument in place of Hamas, woman in the middle would still go off on you. I don't know. I would need to try. Keep in mind also, yeah, I'm sorry. I have to reiterate 50 million things, okay, because you guys are retarded, okay? I might make these exact same mistakes in this conversation. Maybe I do go off because having a person next to me, it's very easy for me to backseat. Actually, fuck Hassan. I'm not going to do this speech. Fuck you. I would have done this perfectly because I am smarter and I am better and I am built different, okay? I could do this conversation and I would do it perfectly, all right? But if it was anyone but Hassan, I would say it is hard to do these conversations live. It's possible that having somebody like this screaming next to me would cause me to make the same mistakes, maybe. And then I would be like critiquing it in a metaverse where it's like, oh, I should have said this or that or that or that or that, right? This is the equivalent of like a shower thought, basically, right?
Stop talking.
I never you're a terrorist.
I am. Wait, does anybody? Can I get a? Oh my god, I need a clip of. Wait, hold on.
How long have we been?
I need. You know what I need.
Okay, well, I'm not the one wearing.
Because
I'm not the one wearing
don't expect the war to be
insignia.
over.
Yeah, I know.
Bring
you don't
them
care about
home.
hostages. If
I
you
love
care
what you're
about hostages,
condemning.
you would
You
be
are
screaming at
exposing
Benjamin
your
Netanyahu.
own terrorism
Benjamin
on live
Netanyahu
television.
is the hostage
You are
killer.
exposing.
Benjamin Netanyahu
You
is
should
killing
condemn
hostages.
Hamas.
That's
You
what
should
you're
be
saying.
condemning
telling
Hamas.
you.
And not only oppressing the Palestinian people, but for spreading terrorism. I don't see your outrage.
God, you know what a killer talking point is? God, I want to do the pro. I'm going to do the pro-Palestinian side. I will roll up with the kefi or whatever the fuck, and I will. Here's the killer talking point. Hey, chick, you got the little thing for the fucking hostages. You supported the war in Gaza. Okay, how many hostages have been freed so far? How many hostages have the IDF gotten out? How many have they killed? How many are still left? How's the war in Gaza going? If the war was all about getting the hostages and the hostages are things that you care about the most, where the fuck are they at? That would be a hard. I don't know what the answer to that is right now. If you're like the big pro-Zionist person, I don't know how you respond to that.
Hamas. Israel gave Gaza
All right,
back
listen,
in 2005,
I would like to, please.
and Hamas has turned
Can you
it
both
into
please?
a terrorist haven.
Emily and Hassan.
Israel gave Gaza back in 2005. Gave it back to who? They blockaded the fuck out of it. What are you talking about? Oh, there are so many good talking points here. They gave it back in 2005. What do you mean? They demolished the settler villages. They
I don't know nothing about this.
Blockaded by sea, land, and air of it. And then when a party that they didn't like, Hamas, won the elections, they tried to fucking ship weapons to Fatah to coup Hamas. That's why Hamas killed a lot of the Fatah people there. But nobody, I don't care.
Can you please show some courtesy
Hamas
to
is
the other
the lesser
panelists?
evil in comparison to Israel.
Can you please stop talking?
Hamas is the lesser evil. But he's also equally unhinged. These conversations are trash. I want to hear the pink-haired guy and the lady over here. I want to hear these guys.
Both of you, the other two panelists, have a say. Give them some courtesy. Please, some courtesy for your co-panelists here. Now, Esther, this is one of the problems I have with this whole debate, is that increasingly, it just descends into a screaming match between pro-Palestinians and pro-Israelis.
And the biggest losers are the victims of this war. 33,000 dead.
Yikes. Oh, fuck. I'm so American-brained. Every time I see a black person, I think when they talk, it's going to be so cool. But then I realize, like, they're British. They sound like British people. And it's not cool. Cringe.
Between pro-Palestinians and pro-Israelis.
And the biggest losers are the victims of this war. 33,000 dead Palestinians, over 1,500 dead Israelis. These are the biggest victims of this because you're shouting at each other and nothing is getting. Like, you're completely. Forget having no courtesy for us. You're completely.
True, actually, though. True, actually. True.
Respecting actual victims of this conflict, which, by the way, didn't happen in a vacuum. And I think that's the most important thing to say about this. None of this happened in a vacuum. Of course, October the 7th was an atrocity, and it was completely unjustified. There was no justification for butchering people in the way that they did. But it didn't happen in a vacuum. A lot of the people that live in Gaza weren't even.
This is. Wait, why didn't she just give the answer to the question? Hassan, take notes. Who is this lady? She answered this question way better in giving the pro-Palestinian side.
Born at the time that Hamas came in power. So I really I despise this. You're a terrorist.
You can't tell she has a Caribbean/British accent? I don't, bro. Caribbean? Is that the same as British? I'm gonna be honest. Caribbean, British, fucking Australian, all that shit sounds the same to me. Okay.
Just
sympathizer, you're a genocide supporter, all of this, when really the people that we should be talking about deserve better.
Okay, James, on the wider point of these protests.
Well, I couldn't get to that part because I wanted to describe what the.
Oh my God, you're talking again. You couldn't.
Oh, do you know what Hassan?
You couldn't get to that part. Why didn't you start with that? She was able to say that in the first 10 seconds before his response, dude. What do you mean you couldn't get to that?
Do you know he just relived?
Well, I gave a really bad answer, but trust me, I was getting to the good part that she just said, But I couldn't get to it. It was like, okay, but she got to it way faster than you did, buddy. Like, what the fuck?
Oh no!
Jesus Christ!
Oh yeah.
This is your job, dude.
So, for instance, like
this is your job.
They're making us wait.
So we didn't have to
have the status or the power in society in order to do so.
Yeah,
It's like I wish Destiny could just come in at the beginning and give us the right answer right away instead of making us wait.
So we didn't have to list a fucking Hassan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me feel
Like
Like,
we have the cheat sheet right here.
Honestly, like it's funny because like the only way
It's such a fucking retarded thing to say. Like, I'm sorry, but like if you can't comprehend the fucking
And it's even a black woman, Destiny. They gave the right answer.
I really I despise this, you're a terrorist sympathizer, you're a genocide supporter, all of this, when really the people that we should be talking about deserve better.
Okay, James, on the wider point of these protests.
Well, I couldn't get to that part because I wanted to describe what the apartheid is, and Emily cut in immediately to chirp about some random shit.
Okay, you were both abusing each other. It was very unsatisfying.
very
Let me ask James. James, on the protests.
Yeah,
on the protests. Look, I believe in the right to protest. That's an absolute bedrock of any democracy. But I don't believe in the right to support terror groups publicly, or to chant about support for Hamas, or to chant about Intifada, which is a violent uprising. Where's the line for you with these?
I agree. I think we have to condemn what Hamas did, and I don't think the words that have been used so far have been strong enough. I mean, it was the worst thing we've seen in a very long time. It was disgusting, appalling, awful for everyone involved. I also have a lot of sympathy, if not, I can't think of a bigger word, for the people of Gaza. It's awful, and I will agree with you. I do want a free Palestine, and I also want a free and successful Israel, but I don't want innocent people murdered. So yeah, you can't go to a protest and start shouting about support for Hamas. That's insane.
Isn't it ironic that something like this has become a haven for like the mentally unwell? You're talking about something as serious as a conflict in Israel and Gaza, and for some reason,
Who is this person? Yes.
you have really uneducated people that are clearly 20 years ago would have been in an asylum supporting this openly, not even knowing the conflict, not even knowing the context of what they're supporting, and for some reason we even give it airtime. That's what.
Oh, did you see that head twitch? He's like, "Are you talking about me, motherfucker?" Did you see him? He's like, "What?"
Yeah,
he wanted to jump through that screen. Did you see this? Hold on. Look at him. Watch him. He's like,
and for some reason, we even give it airtime.
what
That's what upsets me. These people don't deserve airtime.
Excuse me.
Everyone is so triggered on both sides, on all sides, and rightly so, because a lot of terrible stuff has happened. So that's where the emotion is coming.
Not the both sidesing. Oh no, that's like the nuclear. That's like the. Oh, I need a different horn. That doesn't work for that. Hold on. I need like the nuclear launch detected sound.
From, but really, I think we all want the same thing, and that is for innocent people to not be murdered or slain in the streets.
Right. I mean, look, Hassan. Hang on, Emily.
Something?
Please. I'll come.
He's so defeated. Can I? Did you hear that? Can I? Can I?
Murdered or slain in the streets.
Destiny's voice is so much louder than the video. It is, because this is a quiet video. I can't do anything about that. Blame them. Or blame you. Or fuck all of you. You've all destroyed the volume on the internet, okay? And now you want me to download plugins more? No, fuck you.
Look, Hassan.
But
Hang on,
can I ask
Emily.
something?
Please, I'll come to
Yeah,
you. Let me just ask Hassan. When you and Emily go at each other like you just did, nobody wins. I mean, no one can really understand a word you're saying because you're shouting over each other. You end up just calling each other terrorists. There's no sensible dialogue here. There's no constructive conversation. It's just two implacably opposed sides abusing each other. Do you understand that?
Yeah, listen, Piers, okay? This is going to always be a very heated discussion, okay? Having a conversation about
No, it doesn't have to be this. That's wrong. You're dead wrong. You're dead wrong, you grifty, shitty.
how heated this discussion is utterly unproductive. Every single moment that we use on air, not talking about
shit.
every single university building being desecrated.
Like when people talk about like there are a lot of I've been watching Destiny for a while, and there are a lot of people who will be like, he has a hate boner for Hassan. This nigga has a hate boner for Hassan. It's so like, even if you say it's deserved, like, well, Hassan did that, and I watched. I've been around for a while. I've seen some of the stuff Hassan has said. If I was Destiny, I'd probably have a hate boner too. But damn, like, especially early when you talk about, I'm edging, I'm so close. Like that was okay.
Destroyed. The fact that we're having this conversation on the eve of hundreds of mass graves being unearthed right now in many different parts of Gaza.
Okay, is the mass grave story real? Or is this like another indigenous thing? Because I read that geolocator thing yesterday. Like, is the mass graves thing real, or is this complete and total bullshit?
Around hospitals that Israel had laid siege to is disgusting. I agree. I came on here, as I have done last time as well, and as I will probably do in the future as well, with one simple goal in mind, which is to address all of the misinformation that surrounds stuff like this. As far as the crackhead Barbie thing goes, yeah, she's a random TikTok influencer who gives a shit about what she has to say. She's obviously doing it for clout. But
whoa, did he call her a Barbie?
God, dude. Like, think about that. You literally just said. Hold on, let me hear that again, because it almost sounded like you're saying, this person doesn't actually believe what they're saying. They're just doing it for clout. And it's just like, you could literally say the same thing about your position. Like it's a controversial topic. Tensions are rising. You're taking this position because it's convenient or beneficial or grifting or like you. Hold on, Hassan didn't say that. Hassan, a political commentator who was like in his late 20s or early, should be able to articulate that that's not the case. That people can actually disagree and actually believe it, right? He wouldn't say that, right?
Being unearthed right now in many different parts of Gaza.
Okay, is the mass grave story real, or is this like another indigenous thing? Because I read that geolocator thing yesterday. Like, is the mass graves thing real, or is this complete and total bullshit?
Around hospitals that Israel had laid siege to is disgusting. I agree. I came on here, as I have done last time as well, and as I will probably do in the future as well, with one simple goal in mind, which is to address all of the misinformation that surrounds stuff like this. As far as the crackhead Barbie thing goes, yeah, she's a random TikTok influencer who gives a shit about what she has to say. She's obviously doing it for clout, but...
Whoa, did he call her the Barbie?
As the crackhead Barbie thing goes, yeah...
Oh, no, wait, he's talking about the first person is the crackhead Barbie. I'm assuming, right? Whoever this person was? Jesus, holy booba.
Crackhead Barbie?
She's a random TikTok influencer who gives a shit about what she has to say. She's obviously doing it for clout. But the students over at Columbia, okay, the students that I have talked to at the Columbia University Apartheid Divest group, the students that I've talked to from Jewish Voice for Peace.
All right, Emily, let me just ask you the same thing I asked Hassan. When you guys scream at each other and call each other terrorists, it doesn't obviously achieve anything other than it becomes unintelligible to the audience. You know,
they're not only believing the mass grave story at face value, they're also saying Israelis are stealing organs. Jesus Christ.
Stealing organs? I know people do that in the
Did you read the update? Oh, they have an update.
I hear it's good money.
Hold on. Mass grave investigation update. At this moment, we are gathering footage and statements made between January and now by the Nasser Hospital. Based on the analysis of the footage, we will decide if an update is needed. New footage and statements gathered included more videos that Palestinians had to make a temporary cemetery, including mass graves in January as a result of the siege because it was unsafe to conduct a proper burial. Included in our first investigation, with even the Ministry of Health communicating about 180 that need to be buried. Bird, nice one. Another video made by a journalist on the site, published the 29th of February, showing the cemetery south that was ran over by bulldozers. IDF did not respect the graves as claimed by them. Palestinians knew and had access to this site from at least the end of February.
Hi, people in Kick Chat. How y'all doing?
Another video shows that Palestinians aid workers are retrieving some of the bodies in March. Also, a statement was made by UNOKACH.
Sorry, this man choking on something.
The United Nations Office of something Humanitarian Affairs? I always forget the names of all these things. It's the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. The United Nations Office of the Coordination of
Humanitarian Affairs. When humans cheat on each other while they're married.
Okay. Statement was made by UNOKACH during this time. On the 17th of March, WHO, the World Health Organization, UNRWA, the UN, these are for the Palestinians, Relief and Welfare Aid, Relief and Works Agency, the Relief something agency, what is it? It is Relief and Works Agency, okay. These are for Palestinians. UNMAS,
oh, one day I get to have a
United Nations Mine Action Service.
With a lot of these people in the online
threat
space.
posed by mines exposed. Okay, and then
a lot of these people in the online space be saying some wild ass shit, and it be stupid as fuck. And it makes it like to the point to where it's like, are you just saying this because you online? And it's like because it's like entertainment. I guess I would never be able to know if have the conversation online because they're still online. I just want to see how all these people are the same people like behind closed doors. Like the shit people say online is fucking wild.
UNACA, which is the UN's Office of Coordinating Humanitarian Affairs. Okay. Conducted a mission to provide 10,000 liters of fuel to Nasser Hospital and conducted a rapid needs assessment of the hospital, wash and health equipment, water, sanitation, and hygiene. Another post by a Palestinian journalist with almost 250,000 followers on the 21st April stating that the cemetery was created during the siege. In February, 400 people were buried there and there's not new information. Israel disgraced the cemetery by running over it with bulldozers. This does not exclude that bodies could be added during Israeli occupation in February, nor does this exclude that Palestinians or IDF added more graves or bodies after the Israeli occupation. For example, Cemetery North Road was made after the Israeli occupation hospital based But all the footage and statements we gathered, it seems that both parties seem to misinform people and a neutral investigation is needed. This requires access to the site for international investigators given by both involved parties. Yes! I wish that these f***ing investigations would have third-party people coming in. 95%. I want to scream this out.
Why wouldn't you have third-party investigation? Like, especially if, like, I really want you to believe what I'm saying. I really want to prove it to you. Have a third-party investigate. Like, wouldn't that just, like, be the best, the honest, the most honest, the best good faith way to go about it? Right? Unless there's, like, logistical reasons why you can't. I don't have the money, it would take, like, a ridiculous amount of time. But, you know, let that happen. Let those problems come up. Don't just be like... I don't know.
That loaner box for a second. I don't think he's available right now. I don't like when so many people say third-party verified, but all they're doing is they're just basically re-reporting what the IDF said, or they're re-reporting what Hamas said. It's so fucking annoying. Mass graves in Gaza show victims' hands were tied, says UN Rights Office. What's the evidence for that? People being buried with their hands tied behind their back is generally a good indication of like summary execution. So a bunch of people were restrained, lined up, shot, buried. That's like your classic, your vintage mass grave scenario. You're binding a bunch of people, bounding a bunch of people, binding a bunch of people's hands, shooting, killing, burying. That's your, yeah. Among the deceased were allegedly older people, women, and wounded, while others were found tied with their hands, tied and stripped of their clothes, said Ravina Shamdassi, spokesperson for the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. Okay, citing the local health authorities in Gaza. Okay, so it's the people there, which doesn't necessarily make it not trustworthy, but I would definitely like confirmation. Do we have like pictures? I feel like there would be pictures of this. If you're digging up pictures of people, or if you're digging up, not pictures, if you're digging up
12
people,
Coke bottles and 2 scarves.
With their hands tied in a grave, there must be pictures of it somewhere, right?
Killing way more bears. Got a lot of polar bears to kill.
Hamas would 100% do it to their own to make Israel look bad, though, no? Okay, when we're thinking about bad people, and we're thinking about the bad things they do, there's going to be some, even if they're real bad people, there's going to be like a consistency to all of the types of actions that they take. So people suicide bombing or being used as human shields, this is consistent with stuff that Hamas has done in the past. Hamas putting a gun to their own people and shooting and killing them to fake shit for Israel, I have never heard of anybody in any of the Palestinian territories ever doing anything like that. Never heard of that before. So I would not make that assumption by default. And if somebody were to claim it, I would need probably quite a bit of evidence to believe that that was happening. No, but they could tie up their own already dead people. Oh, maybe. Although I haven't heard of that either.
That's so weird. I'm gonna tie up my own dead people for political purposes. It's like, how disgusting. If that's true.
You forgot, Hamas also operates torture dungeons out of their hospitals. Those bound people could have been executed, but as prisoners of Hamas, not as random victims for show. That's actually true too. That would be more compelling, that Hamas could have killed Palestinians there, but it wouldn't have just been, we're gonna kill these Palestinians to make it look like Israel did it. It could have just been they were like suspected collaborators or something. That's true, yeah. Okay.
Is that not a better way to have this conversation?
Funnily enough, correct. And funnily enough, I have the same exact answer as Hassan. My job here is to make sure that I'm debunking false narratives that Hassan is clearly spewing. My job here is to call out hypocrisy. And I just saw another one where he's saying that crackhead Barney, whoever the hell that girl was, is a lunatic, but Aaron Bushnell, who lights himself on fire, is a hero. You can't pick and choose whatever fits your narrative. And I keep on repeating that over and over again because the Palestinian movement will literally just take what they can get, spew all of the truth into their false narrative, spread misinformation, and then use it.
Is it really that much of a reach that Hamas tied the hands of bodies? Is it that much of a reach? No. But if they've never done it before, then you should want evidence that they're doing it. We can't just make those assumptions because assumptions become reality, and then we historically reference those assumptions, and then we build other assumptions off of those assumptions, and eventually you could be thinking things that are so far removed from the truth, right? What if we assume that they tied hands for the bodies? Maybe they did, and then a future event comes up where now you find people who got shot while their hands were tied. Well, if they've tied hands to bodies, is it really that far to think that they would just execute people whose hands were bound, right? Because you've believed in one hypothetical, it's easier to consider another hypothetical, and pretty soon you're going to be considering things that are pretty far removed from anything that could be factual. So if they were doing it, I think you would want evidence of that.
What a cock. One evidence for his positions. Get the fuck out of here.
Just as a heads up, anytime you put anything anything in like, you need to do this and then go apologize to whoever, you're always getting permabanned for that, okay? Just as a heads up. Just as a heads up for that. Destiny, you need to Google this and then apologize to Ryan Grimm. Israeli soldiers video undercuts medic's account of sexual assault. Pretty sure we've already read this. Pretty sure we're already familiar with this. There was a particular, I'm guessing that this is about there were 2 girls that were killed, that one guy from the, Zaka was the name of the volunteer org, that was going around trying to bury bodies or whatever. I think it was a Zaka volunteer that said that he thought that 2 girls were put together and or separated. But then a soldier came out later and said, oh no, I think we moved those bodies because we were clearing for bombs or something like that. This is old. We've already seen articles about this. But this doesn't discredit the entirety of everything else that was said.
Yeah, it does.
We're the liars. You tell me I'm wearing an IDF dog tag. I'm wearing to bring them home for the hostages that you... No, it says bring them home.
You're using the hostages as a simple political tool to make propaganda in the West. It's quite disgusting. There's protests that are happening.
To be fair, that's kind of because Hamas took hostages to use as a political tool. That's kind of on Hamas there. If you don't want hostages being used as political tools, you probably shouldn't take hostages, right?
Humans in captivity are a political tool.
And those protests.
What?
You are using
Hassan,
humans in captivity.
Why do you think the hostages are too
It's so obvious.
Why, Hassan?
Oh, and then also, just to be clear, even if information did come out that all of the reporting ends up being not true, I still wouldn't give Ryan Grimm any credit for it, because you don't give people credit for being right or wrong. You give people credit for the process that they used, right? And Ryan Grimm, and relying on the gray zone in Blumenthal and the hacky tweets that they were going through to try to discredit those stories was bullshit. It was garbage, and the writing and the quality on that was garbage, and the citations and the sources were garbage, and the underlying information was fucking garbage. So even if they end up being true, you don't get any credit at all for that. Like, you don't get credit for being right because you ended up like guessing a bunch of shit and broken clock, et cetera, et cetera. Like, no, fuck no. What do you think would happen if both Biden and Trump were to die of natural causes? That would be like a Black Mirror episode where you've got like Biden and Trump.
But there was a part of me that's just like, I really want to see what people would do, because people are so insane and so hyper partisan and so hyper political that like, if their 2 number 1 choices would die, it makes me wonder, would y'all fall apart? Like, would y'all be able to handle it? I'm not saying I want them to die. It's just like, people are just like, oh, we're gonna get Biden, no, we're gonna get Trump, we're gonna get Trump, Trump. I'm just like, what would y'all do if they weren't choices anymore? Like, where are y'all gonna be just as crazy as y'all were before? Will you?
In different hospitals on like ventilators, and there's like doctors like pumping them full of drugs to make sure that they're like surviving through election night. Oh my god. What do you think of the whole blood libel thing? Do you think Jews overuse that term? I don't even know what the blood libel means. I'm gonna be honest. I think of like osmosis, the meaning. Is blood libel the idea that like Jewish people do weird killings or weird shit in order to further an agenda or something? I don't even know. I hear people throw it around a lot, but I don't know about. I don't know. I actually don't know. Blood libel. Falsely accuses Jews of murdering Christians in order to use their blood in the performance of religious rituals. Is it really just that? Okay, based. I don't know. It just seems kind of memey.
Why are you dehumanizing the hostages? Because I have no problem admitting the Palestinians deserve better. I feel terrible.
You're using them as a political pawn.
I can say that.
If you cared about the hostages, you would be right now
using
alongside.
Let me bring in James. Let me bring in James.
Please,
let me bring in James.
I agree with both of you.
When I say stop talking, please stop talking. We've got 4 people here.
If anyone is using hostages, surely it's Hamas, Hassan. How can you say that? How can you use that argument? That's a crazy thing to say.
Assuming dead bodies with hands tied are found, since both the IDF and Hamas have no history of doing something like that, does it mean by your logic you shouldn't draw conclusions for who did it until more evidence surfaces? I mean, you could probably try to guess who did it, but like you should be with low levels of conviction, right? You should have like.
Nice.
Like if hands are bound, you're gonna have to look at like who controlled the property at what point in time when like these bodies were buried, and then if Israel controlled it, I would assume maybe it was them. If Hamas controlled it, I would assume maybe it was them. But I mean, I don't know. You'd be on low levels of conviction, right?
It's Hamas that have taken these people from their homes,
tens of thousands of people in Israel. There are currently 10.
Do you feel like there's a small bit of anti-Semitism prevalent at the UN currently? When 9/11 happened, the U.S. felt like it was morally justified in attaching Iraq and killing hundreds of thousands in the process without nearly the same scrutiny as Israel is currently getting from the UN. I don't know. It's really hard at some point to separate anti-Semitism from anti-Zionism. I think it doesn't help that there's literally just one Jewish country. Like, I feel like if there were like 5 Jewish countries, we could do this a little easier, because it's like, okay, well, Israel. And it's like, you're anti-Semitic. No, I'm not. I have no problem with these other Jewish countries. Just kidding. Isn't the United States a Jewish country? So I feel like, yeah, I don't know. It's a really fine point to separate the two. I also don't think that people realize, because
it really depends on what the arguments are. Like, if you say, I don't like that it seems like Israel is not caring enough about civilian lives in Palestine, I don't think that's an anti-Semitic argument. I'm trying to think, like, the harder one, should Israel exist as a country, is that necessarily anti-Semitic? It's just like, is it are we basing anti-Semitism on outcomes or intention? Because if the outcome of them not having their own state means that they will be like killed and treated as second-class citizens across the world, you're effectively anti-Semitic. But in the same way that, like, saying you're systemically racist, in the same way as saying you don't believe the justice system should have any reforms at all. I mean, it's like indirectly, it's just like by virtue of outcomes you are, I guess, but it depends on what level we're talking about it.
Because of how many self-hating Jews there are, like Finkelstein, etc. I don't think people realize how popular among Jews the idea is that, like, Israel should probably exist as a country that has, like, Jewish people that are allowed to be there and make it a Jewish country. Pretty sure that, like, 80 to 90% of Jews all around the world agree with that. And so when you talk to, like, Hamas supporters like Hassan, if you would ask them, hey, what do you think about Zionism versus, like, anti-Semitism? He would say something like, no, I don't hate all Jews. I just, like, don't agree with Zionism and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, what if I told you 90% of Jews were Zionists? And do you hate, like, those 90% of Jews? And you're like, yeah, okay, well, is that anti-Semitic or no? And it's like, okay. Do you deny all the Botox allegations?
I would say that's not necessarily anti-Semitic, because you're disagreeing with the idea that a certain country should exist. If you're being honest, and that's as far as it goes. Yeah, if that's the only thing. But if you're like, I don't think this country should exist, and if they all die in other countries, then fuck them, they can all die. Okay, well, now we're going into territory. Well, yes, this is anti-Semitic.
That were made against you. The only Botox I put is in my...
Thirsty. I need some water.
Tens of thousands of Israeli citizens.
Why is the hands bound thing a huge issue anyway? Mass graves with bound hands usually indicates mass summary execution. Summary execution meaning a bunch of people killed without due process. Generally, you tie a bunch of people up.
On your knees, you're going to get on and tie them hands up.
This would be like a summary execution, right?
These are free men.
Notice they all have their hands bound.
With the queen.
And then you go down the line and you shoot or execute each of them. And then when you find these types of executions usually happen, the people are usually just buried in mass graves. This is like an indication of, it's an indication of there was a summary execution of a lot of people, generally.
What a way to go. I wonder if you would be able to talk all that shit.
Well, you could expand that question. Why don't the natives in America deserve their own state?
You a bitch! And just then get killed, and just like, at least you got the last word.
Or the Aboriginals of Australia? Good question. A really good question would actually be, what about the Kurdish people? Do they deserve their own state? I don't know. That's a really tough one. I think the answer is kind of like, it's an uncomfortable one, but it's kind of more like, well, we're in 2024. This is how the world works now. Let's look and see like what countries exist. And these are probably the ones we're going to defend. We probably don't have the ability to give every single person, every ethnic group their own state. So we're just going to have to roll with what we've got now, basically. Yeah. Potential genocide evidence.
I feel like if you're going to constantly fight over a piece of land, you're saying that it's more important to kill people for the pride of my country or the pride of my nation. Necessarily at a certain point. Like, I'm not giving up my country. I'm not giving up a piece of my country. These people have been living here for centuries. I'm not giving up a part of my country. It's just like, I understand that if y'all both have this position, you're not going to fight forever. Do you acknowledge that you will be fighting forever? At least say that and acknowledge that. Don't do this thing where, well, we can have peace, or we can have peace. or no, we don't want peace, and I will be fighting. But like, just be honest. Say you want to fight forever, and then fight forever. But at that point, if you're saying you want to fight forever, have a full-scale war, and if your people get wiped out, you get wiped out. You chose not to have peace for whatever reason. If you thought peace was just a way for you to concede all your land, so you don't want peace, you don't think peace is actually justice, then keep fighting until you all die. I don't know another way for it to go. Like, no one wants to meet anybody in the middle, so somebody's gonna have to die and be fully exhausted. Like, that's the only way. Y'all just choosing to die. On both sides, you're choosing to die.
No. I don't think it points to genocide one way or another. If anything, I would almost say it probably points to not genocide, maybe. Like, generally, summary executions, I think, are things you generally see with, like, military prisoners being taken, and you just kill them all, because you're like, these people. I think for genocide, you're just, like, running through, you're just, like, killing everybody and killing people. I don't know why you wouldn't bother to take them prisoner first. I could be wrong on that, though. Maybe you find, like, mass graves of bound hands in other genocides. Maybe that has happened. I'm trying to think when, I say that, but well, hold on. Did they? Jews shot Holocaust. Somebody said that's what they did in Srebrenica. Maybe they do this in genocides. Actually, I don't know. So yeah, I don't know if it would point to it one way or another. I'm curious for like the Jewish mass graves when they shot and killed so many people. Do they bind their hands first? I imagine they probably. I guess they would probably have to, right? If you're mass executing people. Let's see, like pizza, Srebrenica. Srebrenica.
Right now in the streets of Israel, in the streets of Tel Aviv, outside of Benjamin Netanyahu's house, protesting every single day. What are they protesting? They're protesting for Benjamin Netanyahu to facilitate a ceasefire with Hamas.
And Katiri or whatever I think they did. Weren't those military people though? Or am I making that up?
Yeah, I'm getting super tired.
No, I'm thinking of this one.
I need water too. I'm going to cut this soon.
We'll probably learn all of these when we do World War II. These are all military, not just military people though. Intelligentsia prisoners of war carried out by the Soviets. 22,000. This was wild.
So that they can actually bring the hostages home. That is precisely the...
Probably depends on the motivations for the genocide. In Germany for World War II, Jews were made a scapegoat for the country's problems, so making an example more publicly or performatively is better. I don't actually know how true that is. My gut intuition tells me that the genocide, the Holocaust, I don't know how much that was driven by selling to Germans the idea that Jewish people were the biggest fault for why Germany got fucked after World War I. I know that it was a big deal.
That can't be the case. Like, just like objectively speaking, like Jews are the whole reason that Germany was fucked after World War I. Yeah, I'm not buying that.
Like you have like the stab in the back that Jews like did things to fuck over Germany. I feel like the Holocaust, again, this is all intuition. I feel like the Holocaust was largely driven, as crazy as this is, I feel like it was largely driven for Hitler's deep, burning fucking hatred for Jewish people. Just the idea that you would be taking away from the war front and the idea that you would spend so much time like coordinating and rounding up and killing so many Jewish people. Because like you could have killed 1 million and I think they would have got the point, right? Or you could have imprisoned them, you could have put them in labor camps and shit. I think they would have got the fucking point. But the idea that Hitler was so fucking big on killing them, and I don't have the history in my brain anymore because I read it before I got to talk, but it was some countries when Hitler was like taking over these countries, I'm pretty sure there were communications with other leaders where Hitler was like, listen, okay, like you can administer to your country that we just took over some bullshit, but like you need to get all the Jews and bring them up to our camps. So, like you need to be killing all the, like it was a fanatical obsession with the Jew killing shit that went way beyond just like, oh, political expediency. Like I don't feel like now, yeah, the Jew excuse might have been decent for politics because Jews are just a really easy group of people to demonize and hate for whatever reason. But I feel like for Hitler, I feel like it was personal. That's the feeling I have though. But this is very.
I heard a story about how his hatred for Jews came when like there was somebody who told him he couldn't be an artist or his artwork was terrible, and it was a Jewish person. Imagine being that one Jewish person. Really, you just told this man his artwork was good. Then 6 million of your people would not have to die. Like, I'm fucking yo. But that's terrible.
Very largely intuition driven, and maybe when we do more reading, maybe I'll change my mind on that.
Who here is using
the family members of hostages,
who is using
anyone
hostages?
on this panel was being even a little bit honest, they would recognize the reality that, listen, just listen. You didn't listen.
Do you think Israel has committed war crimes in this war? If not, what's the best strategy on countering such claims? Here is the reality.
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm gonna pause it there.